I'd rather show you what I got. Where I walk, where I talk. See me flying down my route, pass me the ball. I ain't dropping none, I don't fumble at all. Winner, chicken dinner every time we ball. Throwing it like a burner, I dunk it like LeBron. Hey. Monday Night Fredo, Infinity TV.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Monday Night Fredo, live from Los Angeles here at the Infinity Studios. And it is a beautiful Monday here in Los Angeles. It's just really sunny outside, feeling the nice weather, but I'm here. The rain is coming. But that's maybe not the only rain that's coming here in Los Angeles. Of course, we heard this morning that Russell Westbrook, former Los Angeles Laker, is now joining the Los Angeles Clippers. He is just switching uniforms and staying in Los Angeles. We will have the latest on Westbrook to the Clippers here today, coming a little shortly, because we do have a very special guest on the show tonight. For the people familiar with Monday Night Fredo and the previous shows, you guys are very much familiar with this young man. Lawrence Murray, who covers the Clippers for The Athletic, will be joining the show here today, as he is one of the persons that broke the story earlier this weekend. Of course, he was also at the NBA All-Star festivities, everything going up over there. So he's going to kind of give us a recap of what happened over the weekend, the slam dunk contest, three-point shootout, and the awful NBA All-Star game that happened last night in Utah. He'll go ahead and come on the show after the first commercial break to talk about all that. But just like what I just mentioned right now, it was an awful, I think, in my opinion, it was a pretty sad All-Star game. I don't know what was everyone's intentions, like Luka Doncic and Jokic. Both of those two players were maybe two of the most talented players on the floor last night. That kind of didn't break a sweat at all. Of course, they both just kind of seemed to not be in the mood to even play the game. Maybe they're just trying to stay healthy and whatnot. But the game last night kind of just let everyone know that it's kind of moving towards that Pro Bowl kind of feeling. You know, that feeling that people have about the NFL Pro Bowl that's like, well, no one really wants to watch the Pro Bowl. I don't know if the NBA All-Star game is going to be like that moving forward, because, yes, there's no money involved, nothing really special involved for these players. But, oh my Lord, Mr. McClung, he brought out everyone back out of their seats, especially what he did on Saturday night, winning the slam dunk contest. And yes, you got to give the man credit. He is technically, at the moment, a Philadelphia 76er, but he was drafted by the Lakers and signed by the Lakers, and he played for the South Bay Lakers last season and this season as well. So, hey, let's give that man some credit right there. He's still wearing a little bit of purple and gold, but Mac McClung went out and showed out against Kenyon Martin Jr. and the others, and really pretty much did everything that he could to win the whole slam dunk contest all around. I mean, he slammed the ball. He did like what people want to say, he did like a 720 or something like that. It was just incredible to see what Mac McClung was able to do Saturday night in Utah. And he won the NBA, slam dunk contest. So give it up for that man out there. 3-point shootout, kind of okay, pretty good as well. There were some pretty good competitive plays down there. Of course, Damian Lillard, Mr. Dame Time, was the winner of the 3-point shooting contest out there. So it's going to be pretty exciting, pretty good to go ahead and see what next year is going to bring, because next year it will be up in Indiana. Of course, we remember what happened last year when there was some speculation that whether Indiana should have the right to host an NBA All-Star game due to their laws and the way they feel about certain things out there, which I don't really want to get too much involved, but that is something that we all will be taking place and discussing moving forward in next year's NBA All-Star game. But another pretty interesting thought as well, Los Angeles Staples Center, very well known as Staples Center, but Crypto.com Arena also submitted a bid for the NBA to be hosting the All-Star game in 2025. All right, so it's going to be very interesting to possibly see the NBA All-Star game and weekend everything to come back to Los Angeles after, it was in Los Angeles back in 2018. So it was a pretty good time. So hopefully the LA fan base gets an opportunity to get the NBA All-Star Weekend back to Los Angeles. But I do want to go ahead and finish off the first commercial before we go to commercial here on the thoughts on the only exciting part that happened during the NBA All-Star game. And I'm very loud about this, and I'm making it a thing now because everyone needs to understand right now that there is only one player on this planet right now, that can take anybody and win anything, which he's going to prove that this year. That man I'm talking about is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum had one of the biggest and most exciting performances, even though his individual performance was just exciting, the way he was shooting the ball, and it was just going in. Like there was like nothing crazier than that. But he was just shooting the ball, going in. And the things that he's capable of doing against all these talented players out there, even though, yes, the defensive side of the ball was not so competitive with each other, but he was still able to make some plays and, of course, broke the all-time NBA All-Star scoring record, which was Anthony Davis held with Anthony with 52. And now Jason Tatum surpassed that with 55, 57, I believe it was. So what a incredible performance by this year's MVP and this year's finals MVP and this year's NBA champion and Jason Tatum. All right. So that's pretty exciting for me to go ahead and say, because that is something that we're all going to be looking forward to. All right. But one thing that everyone right now should be looking forward to is it's not the excitement of Russell Westbrook heading to the Los Angeles Clippers. It's the excitement that we're getting here of having the one and only Lawrence Murray, who covers The Athletic for the Clippers. It will be joining the show here right after this commercial break. So make sure you guys all stay tuned, because we're going to talk a lot about whether Russell Westbrook, is he going to be a starter this year on the Clippers? Is he going to be a starter? That is something that we're going to go ahead and ask Mr. Lawrence Murray when he comes on the show, when we return here on Monday Night Fredo.
United One Protection Services. With over 30 years of experience, United One Protection Services has more expertise and knowledge than the other security companies combined. Residential, commercial, municipal, or institutional, United One Protection Services does more than just security. We protect your livelihood. United One Protection Services.
Profanity Nation. A podcast for the fans, by the fans. Dive deep into the topics the other shows miss. Raw and uncensored.
And he's going to play team ball. His legacy is at stake.
Rare, hard-hitting interviews with players, coaches, and you, the super fans.
I'm not hating. I'm like, okay, cool. Good.
3 championships in 5 years. You're more than good, bro.
Profanity Nation. Listen live or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Powered by Jesse Brown of Keller Williams.
Hey guys, you got to check out the Pure Life Alternative Wellness Center. It's a family-owned and operated pre-ICO, Prop D compliant, and recreational collective serving Chatsworth, the San Fernando Valley, and the surrounding Los Angeles areas. They offer discounts for all our veterans and seniors 55 plus, as well as first-time patient and referral discounts. You can order online at purelifesfv.org. That's purelifesfv.org.
Here live on Monday Night Fredo, live from Los Angeles, guys. And of course, we're here in Los Angeles in one of the biggest markets in the world. And we have two of the, I guess right now you can say two of the most talented teams in the NBA here in the same arena at the crypto.com arena, of course. Last week was a trade speculation. Last week we had a lot of crazy trades what it went down. We had the D'Angelo Russell coming back to Los Angeles in a three-way deal. We also had the trade with Kyrie Irving that really kind of shocked a lot of people. No one really saw Kyrie going down to Dallas and teaming up with Luka Doncic and Jason Kidd. But then, the trade that kind of did it all was the Westbrook to Utah. Then we knew that Russell Westbrook was sooner than later going to get bought out. We knew that Utah had no interest in maybe keeping Russell Westbrook there in town. But now Russell Westbrook agreed to a buyout with the Jazz and is now intending to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. So whether this is going to be some sort of reunion payback, I don't know what kind of mentality Russell Westbrook is going to be coming into this game, but we have the one and the only Lawrence Murray, who covers the Clippers for The Athletic, joining here with us right now. Lawrence, how you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing well. I'm still in Salt Lake City, Utah. So getting the last of the All-Star weekend out of me.
Nice. So I did get a chance to see everything you were doing out there, and just talk to us a little bit about your experience. Well, what was really going down there in Salt Lake?
Basketball.
Yeah, of course, basketball.
Yeah, All-Star weekend. So, I like All-Star weekend, not because of anything that actually happens on the floor, but because it's a really nice environment for everyone who participate. You have almost every team out here in some event or another, whether it's the Rising Stars on Friday night or one of the contests on the Saturday night, or of course the All-Star game itself Sunday night. So I enjoy just seeing guys in a different element. But you're not thinking about a game plan or really the state of a roster. I mean, you get those questions in some of the media scrums, but for the most part, guys are here to start their break. The rest of the league, the ones who aren't here, they've already started their break. So it's a nice bonus round, if you will, of the NBA season, because when we come back, you're on a team in one of three spots. You're either a legitimate contender who knows you're going to playoffs and you're trying to make sure that you can have a chance to win a championship, or you're in that middle where you're a bubble team, you're pushing to just make the playoffs, right? It can go either way. Or you're a team that knows they're not in the playoffs and you're playing the string out, but playing the string out requires evaluating the piece that you do have, because you're going to make some serious changes, more likely the draft, but it could be more than that. It could be making is for veterans, further reloading a roster or further breaking a roster down. You may need to change your front office or head coaching personnel. So you're either one of those three, and you got to focus on that by the end of this. But it's a nice break for All-Star weekend to get away from all that.
No, that definitely it is. And I know right now you're still up in Utah. Hopefully you'll be getting back to Los Angeles soon to enjoy yourself a little break before the Clippers start off their season on Friday night, live from the crypto.com arena. And of course, so before we get to this question, Russell Westbrook is now a Los Angeles Clippers. At what point we knew that he had a few teams in mind. He had Miami, he had Chicago, and of course he had the Clippers. I'm not sure if there was any other teams involved. What do you think went through Westbrook to kind of say, like, I want to stay in Los Angeles and I want to try to make this team, the Clippers, a chance to win a championship this year? Because he had other choices.
He had other choices, but one of those choices were, where you get to stay home and for the best of those choices. I don't even think that's complicated. Like, he wanted to stay home and he wanted to join a team that wanted him. And if the interest was mutual, if the fit made any level of sense, because let's just be real, if you're a buyout guy, there's a sacrifice that goes with that. And it's not just the monetary sacrifice, it's sacrifice that you're in a situation where a team decided that you were expendable, either buyout itself or the previous trade that comes and precedes that buyout. So when you're in that situation, you're already not necessarily in a position of leverage. The leverage of, I'm a buyout candidate and I got 5 teams to choose from. it's not what it's cracked up to be. So the good thing for Russ is that conversations went well with the people that it needed to go well with. That included the stars, one who was always going to look out for him in Paul George, but Paul George ain't the only star on the Clippers. He's probably not most people's number one in the mind of the Clippers. So it's important to note that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they're in lockstep with what's going to be a new player on their team. The head coach Tyronn Lue, if Tyronn wasn't with it, then that would have been another story, but it wasn't. T. Lue was always one of the point guard, a traditional point guard in his rotation at least, and that's going to, like, I think T. Lue is still a fan for us. And then you got the front office need to be convinced, and they got there, and a lot of that came from a lot of that was Russell Westbrook and the feedback he was able to give to the Clippers, receiving the feedback that the Clippers had for him. So all of those pieces aligned. None of the other suitors really materialized to be a serious threat to overtake where the Clippers are at. And again, the Clippers are a good team. I think they're fourth in the West right now. Top 10 for sure in the NBA, playing well lately. Over last month, they're 10-4. The other teams, Miami, I know Miami made the conference finals last year, but Miami's the same kind of team, and they already had a veteran point guard that they're not super high on in Kyle Lowry. Washington's struggling to just stay around 500, and same with Chicago. I think those were the other teams that were kind of in the mix, at least on a secondary level. But I think he always wanted to stay in LA if possible, and it's a situation for him. We'll see if it's the best situation for the Clippers.
Yeah, of course. And that's my other concern right there, because it is the best situation for the Clippers, because before even this move happened, the moves that you guys were already making, it kind of made your roster a lot better right now. Looking at the way the Clippers are right now, they're right in the top of the West in a way. There's a lot of competitive teams out there. A lot of people want to say, well, Westbrook kind of ruined the Lakers for the past year and a half, which I totally disagree. It wasn't not all on Russell Westbrook when he was a Laker. But now people are saying, well, now that's the Clippers problem now. They're saying that now that he's coming up there, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I saw a tweet earlier today that you said that he might be looking to start on the Clippers. Is that right?
Well, keep in mind that a decision to start is not just going to be a player's decision, right? It's going to be a decision that the head coach to make. And just because a player starts doesn't mean that they finish, doesn't mean that they are playing the same allotment of minutes as someone else on the team that is, like, we see that all the time. It can be a noisy word. Like, some guys don't prefer to start, finish. Some guys don't care when they get in the game as long as they're in the game. Some guys are cool with not playing if it means that the team is doing well. Like, guys have had to sacrifice for the Clippers all season long. If you think about it, guys have gone from being starters to completely out of the rotation. You know, a guy in Robert Covington, you know, people think Robert Covington should play more. Robert Covington is in a situation where he's out of the rotation right now, and he's a legitimately good player who's out of the rotation. Russell Westbrook is going to have to fit into that. And so I'm not really concerned about that part of it. I think that it's a job for Tyronn Lue, whether he starts or not. I mean, if Russ is going to start, then okay, who's not starting? Because they have a pretty good starting lineup right now that they established at the end of their sixth game that they were on beginning of January. And Terrence Mann is obviously the guy that, given Tyronn Lue's history, T. Lue never sits Zoo. Like, the last time Zoo came off the bench was when Serge Ibaka was starting. Marcus Morris has not been a bench player since T. Lue decided Nicholas Batum would be better as a backup to Marcus. Marcus started the first half of T. Lue's first head coach season with the Clippers as a reserve because he had off-season knee issues. So Marcus has always started, Zoo's always started, and then they've always, obviously, they got PG and Kawhi. So Terrence is the guy who's had to have his role maneuvered all over the place, not just between first and second unit, but between the actual position that he's playing. Him being the starting point guard is a bit of a misnomer. Not even he considers himself the starting point guard. Like everyone considers Paul the primary playmaker when Terrence starts at that position. It's more of a defensive position for me. So it's clear that T. would probably have Terrence be in the second unit if Russ starts, but that shouldn't even be that much of an adjustment Terrence's game because again, Terrence is not necessarily being a traditional point guard as a starter. So him not starting just makes that a little bit more clear. And
right.
I'm not as concerned about the Russell Westbrook part of it or the Terrence Mann part of it. I'm more concerned with how T. delegates minutes because he's got a lot of options. But better than anything the Lakers had, like Russell Westbrook, whether he started, came off the bench, they were a bad basketball team. A large part of that is Russell Westbrook's contract. Not necessarily Russell Westbrook himself, but the contract was stressful on building a team that made sense. And I can't say Rob Pelinka did a great job building that team with 3 stars on it. They saw what Russell Westbrook's deficiencies were. They still made that trade, and they still had a nonsense roster for most of the previous year and a half. Like the roster is a lot better off now because they got off of Russell's contract. But a lot of the struggles the Lakers had was because they had a very slim margin for error building the roster around 3 stars in this modern NBA construct. And I'm not convinced that Russ was a great fit around LeBron and Anthony Davis, which is why they wanted him coming off the bench. So that was a big problem. And then you add in the issues of not everyone embracing Russ at the same time, then you have your morale issues. So the things that happened with the Lakers is the things that happened to dysfunctional organizations, dysfunctional teams. They were a bad team, and maybe they'll be better now. But I can tell you Russell's in a better spot now than he was with the Lakers.
No, definitely. He's definitely in a much better spot. And I hope nothing but the best for him. I hope he just finds happiness within the basketball court and right there, just having fun playing out there. Because it's been a while that we haven't seen Russ really having fun out there, especially since he was maybe in Oklahoma, because it seemed that maybe his time in Houston was maybe not the best. Of course, Washington, he had one rough year there and then coming over here. But you mentioned, and I know Russell Westbrook had to get the okay from Ty Lue, get the okay from Kawhi, get the okay from everybody else within the team that, hey, yeah, we're more than happy to have him come back. Even Paul George and some of the players were open about that during a couple post-game interviews. What do you think was the thing that made the Clippers kind of be like, okay, well, we want to take Russell Westbrook. We know how much how much criticism he's getting throughout the league. Like no one wants him to say that he's out of the league, but then the Clippers are taking a pretty high risk, I think, in bringing a guy who's maybe shooting 29% from the 3, someone who doesn't make the best basketball decisions when he's out on the court. What do you think they saw in him? Like, okay, we can make that work. I know Ty Lue might be the situation and might be the person that can make everything work, but what is it that they believe in Russell Westbrook?
Well, I think they understand what kind of player Russell Westbrook is. They know that his shooting is not going to be a strength of his, period. Like he can make threes. I mean, I saw him make 4 threes in a game a couple times this year for the Lakers, but we all understand that Russ is an inefficient shooter from everywhere, whether it's right at the cup or behind that 3-point line, at the free throw line even. So you have to put a team around him that can enhance what he does well, which is for the Clippers, it's going to be getting downhill, especially in transition, getting to the free throw line at a high rate, making plays for the shooters around him, for the role men around him. And that is something that would have ideally wanted to have in John Wall. But the thing with John is John was coming back from so much that John was never a legitimate option to start. And John was in second units that didn't really make a lot of sense. Like it wasn't a good fit after a while. And John's defense and rebounding deficiencies played a big role in that. I think Russell is slightly better defensively and certainly better on the glass. And Russell has explosion that John doesn't necessarily have. I mean, John got hurt dunking the basketball. Like that's a really sad epitaph to his Clippers career. So Russ is not going to have the same physical issues that John had. John had a lot to overcome. I think Paul kind of said it best when spouting off. I don't want to. I hate saying spouting off, but if people see it in just text, that's how it will look. But Paul was very calm and collected, discussing why Russell might be a better fit with the Clippers than John had been with the Clippers earlier this season. And it comes down to there's a plenty of shooting around this roster. The roster is far more balanced as far as having bigs in the first and second units, having guys who can defend their position a little bit better if you have to go to a 3-guard lineup. The Clippers are never going to have 4-guard lineups. I saw the Lakers' most used 5-man lineup with Russell Westbrook included Patrick Beverley, Austin Reeves, and Lonnie Walker IV.
Yeah,
That's the
Darvin Ham
most
right
used. That's the most used 5-man group. And Anthony is the 5th guy. The most used 5-man group that involved Russell Westbrook this season for the Lakers included 3 other guards. Okay, I don't make these things up. So the Clippers, what they're looking for is another baller. If you sacrifice some efficiency in the first 3 quarters of a game, and that means that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can be at their best selves at the end of games, whether Russ is out there in the 4th quarter or not, that's what they're kind of looking for. That's what Paul is especially looking for. Kawhi might not say it blatantly, but I see Kawhi Leonard not being the same player late in games after being on the ball, after being the primary scorer, after being the defensive keystone that he is, after being the best rebounder that he is. I don't see the same juice. Now you're going to see the same juice. And that's really all you're looking for. Again, Terrence, a really good player who needs to play, but Terrence is not a player who dominates the ball, makes a lot of plays, drives a lot. Terrence is more of a connector instead of a play starter. Eric Gordon is a really good player, but Eric Gordon is valuable as a floor spacer just as much as a guy who can pick and roll in a pinch, get a drive going, drive on closeouts, that kind of thing. Same with Norman Powell. Norman Powell is an outstanding driver, a guy who can shoot, a guy who can play all. But Norman Powell's biggest weakness is that he's not a playmaker. I think I haven't checked, but I'm not looking at it right now. But Norman Powell's assist turnover ratio was arguably the worst on the entire Clippers team among non-centers. So that kind of tells you that there's a deficiency there from a player who plays a lot of 4th quarter minutes. Norm has 4th quarter juice, but Norm's not a guy who is always going to make that right play as a passer. Now, Russell has a high turnover rate. Westbrook, if you're a shooter, he'll find you. If you're a roll man, he'll find you. If he's a cutter, if you can run with him, he'll find you. There's a lot of potential assists with Russell Westbrook. And because there's other guys who can shoot, that opens up the space that Russell Westbrook has to work with. So if you do have a smaller lineup, Russ can defend and rebound in those smaller lineups and enhance the spacing on the other end of the floor. Russ has to do a much better job finishing and decision-making with shot selection. But again, he has a roster that theoretically can support that. And if it's not working as well, Tehran has the agency as the head coach. And with the roster the front office has put together, because you didn't have to gut your team to get Russ in the first place, you have so many other guys who can fill a spot. So it's just
right. And
it's a better situation.
No, yeah, definitely. And I honestly believe Ty Lue will make it work for Russell Westbrook, even though Darvin Ham was just incapable of making it work. I think Ty Lue will make it work with Russell Westbrook. And again, for the people out there watching that maybe have not tuned into anything out there today, Russell Westbrook is intending to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. And I know right now you mentioned that tomorrow he will be doing his physical. Is that correct?
I mean, shoot, physical might have already happened for what I know. I just know that, you saw today, the Jazz waived him. The transaction's happening. Russ is healthy. It's not going to be a situation like, I don't know, Gary Payton in Golden State.
That was a crazy situation too out there.
Yeah, so like it's just to say, like, this has been in the works for most of the last 2 weeks. So I don't expect any hiccups, any snags. The transaction will likely be completed sometime Wednesday, because when you're placed on waivers, the league has 48 hours where teams can place a claim and be awarded that player if no other team picks up that claim. And obviously the chances of that are zero. No one's picking up Russell in the contract that he's on. So
Right.
that's the timeline of how things are going to go.
Well, there it is, guys. We got Russell Westbrook going to be suiting up for the crosstown Los Angeles Clippers for the first time, possibly on Friday. Before I let you go, and I appreciate being on here, I do want to touch on one player, one specific LA Clipper player. I've been a fan of this ever since he got drafted into the league. Every time I watch a Clipper game, he's always doing it all on the defensive end. Of course, he's always rebounding the ball, doing everything he can. And on the offensive end, he's always doing his pick and rolls and doing the best that he can. And he beats a Subat. What can you tell me, and being around the team a lot and seeing this guy develop from the time he got picked up, I believe this is his third season with the Clippers, being ever since, Magic Johnson traded him to the Clippers. How have you seen his development come through, and what has he hit his ceiling yet, or can he still improve?
Well, it's crazy, but Zoo is the longest tenured player on the team now. So
holy crap.
that is something like, if it's Zubac is the only player that was on the team before Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, as well as Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann, who were in the 2019 draft. So I look at Zoo as a player who I don't really consider Zoo to have a high ceiling, to be honest with you. I think Zoo is who he is. But that's a really serviceable player. And I think the best thing the Clippers did for him at the trade deadline was get him a legitimate backup, because I don't think Zoo is a DeAndre Jordan type. Like DeAndre Jordan at the same age, Doc Rivers got him and was like, I'm not doing you like Vinny Del Negro did. Like Vinny Del Negro barely played DeAndre more than 25 minutes a game. Doc Rivers basically had DeAndre Jordan playing about 35 minutes a game. And that was great for DeAndre. I mean, it certainly exposed DeAndre's weaknesses a little bit, but DeAndre Jordan became a really good player, playing those high minutes. I don't think Zoo is going to be an all-star. I don't think Zoo is going to be an all-NBA guy. I don't think he's going to be an all-defensive guy, which is hell, DeAndre Jordan made an Olympic. He's an Olympic gold medalist. So
yes, he is.
I think you're going to see any of that from Zoo. I mean, Zoo's got the Croatian national team, so he's still going to be figuring in prominently to the international scene of things. But what Zoo is a good player. He's a good finish, a guy who rebounds, protects the rim. And even though he's not the strongest passer or shooter from a skill perspective, he doesn't kill you from the free throw line. He can make the next play. I saw some really nice cuts from Terrence Mann, and he received those passes from Zoo out of a short roll. So that's really what you want. You want a guy who is going to make the most of his ability, and Zoo's got size to spare, and he's durable. He's reliable, and so that's why he's the starting center for the Clippers. If he was short on any of those things, then the Clippers would have long moved on. But Zoo's a true professional at a position that takes a long time to learn. I don't think people understand that. You can be a really big guy in this league, but center is arguably the hardest position to play in the NBA because of the defensive component, because you have to understand what everyone is doing. You have to communicate effectively. You have to be able to guard guys who are built to destroy you, especially in space. And then on the offensive end, you're not getting touches naturally. This is a league that is de-emphasizing post play. I don't think it's de-emphasizing center play, but if you're a center that has a limited skill set or no skills at all, those are the centers that are dinosaurs. But the center skills can be MVPs in this league. So that's where that's why center is difficult. You have to be really good, and you have to be a hard worker to play that position. It is physically demanding. It is mentally demanding. And if it's a Zubac, again, of all the guys on this talented Clippers team, he's been the longest.
Well, that's a great thing for him, and hopefully he belong. I think he might be like a natural Clipper, who just might be there for a few years because he's never going to get that big contract. He'll be affordable.
He just got a contract, so there's that.
Right. There it is. So hopefully he stays in town, and I'm excited to catch a Clipper game this season. I do definitely want to go ahead and check them out. Of course, again, Russell Westbrook is now a Los Angeles Clipper. Thank you again, Lawrence Murray, for coming on here on Monday Night Fredo. Of course, everyone go ahead and follow Lawrence Murray. You have him on my Instagram and Twitter. I'm retweeting his stuff there. Go ahead and give the man a follow. He's giving you all the latest coverage on the Los Angeles Clippers every single day, 24/7. Go ahead and follow my guy from The Athletic. Lawrence, thank you for your time, sir.
And thank you. Take care.
No problem, sir. So again, guys, we just had the one and only Lawrence Murray from The Athletic, who gave us a lot of great inside detail on the transaction with Russell Westbrook coming over to Los Angeles and now becoming a Clipper. Again, I will see you guys next Monday night as I will recap what maybe happened in the first weekend after the All-Star break. Now, some certain teams are getting healthier. Jaylen Brown is back with the Celtics. Russell Westbrook now with the Clippers. D'Angelo Russell and LeBron back and healthy. AD somewhat healthy. Everyone's going to be back in business. And of course, this upcoming weekend, it is game 1 of spring training baseball, guys. Baseball is back. I'll give you guys some of the latest details next upcoming Monday. And of course, you can only catch it here on the Infinity Studios YouTube channel. And of course, make sure you follow us. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe right now. Hit the notification button so you can get notified every time there's a live show on the network. All right, guys? So make sure everyone stays tuned. Follow everybody. And I'll see you next Monday night.